Well, let's get what's at the French press review, and Diptyque Laurent joins me in the studio now, and she's going to take a look at what's making headlines this morning. Good morning, Diptyque. And we're starting with the fallout from the Brexit vote.
That's right. 3 days after the UK vote, after the UK's shock Brexit result, this morning it's all about where to from now, Rochelle. It's all about the future of Europe. EU leaders, the message that seems to be coming from EU leaders is that they want a quick and clean divorce from the UK. And this is the message that Le Figaro says is get lost and good riddance. But the right-leaning paper says this is not the way to go. Europe's serious crisis is not going to be resolved by vengeance or payback. Of course, Europe has the right to be angry and furious, but nothing, and I quote, changes the fact that when asked about staying in Europe, a whole population did vote no. So for Le Figaro, the way forward now, the most important thing to do is reconquer the hearts of people. And this is a similar sentiment that's echoed by Libération's editorial entitled A Europe of the People. European leaders must now build a Europe based on popular sovereignty. And basically, the paper says Europe needs to get people interested, passionate about the EU once more, because otherwise a Brexit will turn into a Euro-exit or European exit. And of course, L'Humanité, the communist paper, also evokes once again this similar message saying invent a Europe of the people.
Well, the French business paper Les Echos is also talking about this new beginning, saying Europe needs to be built again.
Rebuild everything. That's a headline from Les Echos. Europe really needs to rebuild itself from scratch, with this time without the UK. For the French business paper, the Brexit vote really exposes the lack of communal vision that's been hemorrhaging the EU for several years now. And Europe is facing a challenge. It must rebuild itself, but find a strategic but collective vision, a collective message that it can send to the rest of the world. In 1945, this vision was peace after the Second World War. Now Europe's objectives are different. They're looking at defending their values and interests in a globalized world, finding solidarity, and also fighting against terrorism. So it's upon these values that a new Europe must be built, albeit without the UK.
But this seems to be the very problem, Diptyque. Europe is unable to find a common direction in light of Brexit. And according to Le Figaro, that's beginning with François Hollande and Angela Merkel.
That's right. Hollande and Merkel are in a disaccord, according to Le Figaro this morning. The newspaper looks at how the leaders of Europe's two biggest economies are unsure of which foot to put forward now. Merkel, as is her style, is more hesitant. She wants to avoid making, quote, quick or rapid and simple decisions, while François Hollande is more on the offensive, saying Europe needs a sort of jolt to the system to sort of wake itself up.
And the right-wing L'Opinion newspaper says Brexit could be Hollande's chance at leadership.
The newspaper says it's Hollande's unexpected chance less than a year before the French presidential election. Europe is quickly becoming sort of a hot-button electoral campaign issue, and it could prove very advantageous to the French president, because even within his own party, there's no real unity on the issue of Europe. And this has been the case since, of course, in 2005, the French people did vote in a referendum against the European Constitution. Now, for Le Figaro, Hollande is facing an extraordinary event for the second time in his presidential term. The first, of course, being the terror attacks in 2015. Now he's faced with the task of filling a void, a vacuum that Brexit has created. And he wants to do this, if nothing else, but for the political power it could bring him.
Well, Hollande is not the only one hoping to capitalise on Brexit and the European vacuum. Tell us about that.
Marine Le Pen, of course, the French far-right leader, is also eyeing the Brexit, but for different reasons. She's hoping to use these issues of sovereignty and an EU divorce, something that far-right leaders across Europe are calling for. She's hoping to use the 2005 French referendum on the European Constitution to push forward a Brexit, but polls indicate she's far from achieving this, at least for the moment.
OK, Diptyque, thanks very much for that. That was Diptyque Laurent with the French press review. Stay with us here on Live from Paris. I'll be back in just a few moments with more world news.